Welcome to Hopkins Online Learning. Welcome to the course Purposive Communication. This is Module 4, Communication to Obtain Information. This is the overview of the lesson. There will be 3 topics in this lesson. Topic 1, Defining multimodal texts. Topic 2, the evaluation process of multimodal text. Topic 3, Critically evaluating multimodal texts. Hopkins Online Learning Topic 1. In this topic, we will discuss defining multimodal texts. What are multimodal texts? A text can be defined as multimodal when it combines 2 or more communication modes. Alternatively, these modes are called semiotic systems. Consider the text Open Happiness. What comes to mind? What do you think about when you see the text Open Happiness? The communication modes can be 1. Linguistic, vocabulary, structure, and grammar. 2. Visual, color, vectors and viewpoints. 3. Audio, volume, pitch and rhythm. 4. Gestural, movement, speed, body language and facial expression. 5. Spatial, proximity, layout, and organization. Now look at the text Open Happiness again. When you place it next to the picture of a bottle, the meaning completely changes and it is quite clear that it is referring to opening a bottle of Coca-Cola. This would be using 2 communication modes, namely visual and linguistic. The use of 2 or more communication modes creates a multimodal text. Examples of multimodal text categories. Here are some categories or groups of multimodal texts. 1. Paper. This includes books, graphic novels, flyers and posters where each shows combination and arrangement of both textual and visual elements. 2. Digital. This includes videos, podcasts, blogs and web pages that combine elements of sound effects, music, and images. 3. Live. This includes performances, acts, and dance that convey meaning through combinations of various modes such as gestural, spatial, audio, and oral language. Mass media refers to a diverse array of media technologies that reach a large audience via mass communication. The technologies through which this communication takes place include a variety of outlets. The most viewed video in 2022 was the video Baby Shark with over 10 billion views, that is roughly 1 view for every person living on the planet Earth. Many multimodal texts are delivered through the mass media format. It is only through technology that mass media can exist. While our interpersonal interactions are direct, our interactions with mass media messages are indirect, as they require technology or a third party to facilitate the connection. The mass media that served large segments of the population with limited messages evolved into micromedia that serve narrow interest groups. As we move closer to our current digital age of media, we can see that new media formats are invented and then made available to people more quickly than media that came before. Here are some example forms of mass media. 1. Print mass media such as books, newspapers and magazines. 2. Sound mass media such as the telegraph and radio. 3. Visual mass media such as television, cable, and satellite television. 4. Internet and digital media. One example of the print mass media would be books. Books with pictures are considered multimodal texts as they combine both images and text. Images would represent the visual communication mode, while texts represent the linguistic communication mode. The explosion of printing following the year 1450 definitely proves that print was the first mass medium. The oldest book we know of is the Epic of Gilgamesh, which was written in 2100 BC. It is around 4,000 years old and is around 2,000 years older than Cleopatra or Julius Caesar. Another example of print mass media would be newspapers. Newspapers contain both images and text, which makes them multimodal texts. It serves as the chronicle of daily life in our society, providing regular coverage of events, both historic and mundane, and allowing us to learn about current events. This was the first mass medium to collect and disseminate information. Acta diurna were daily Roman official notices, a sort of daily gazette. They were carved on stone or metal and presented in message boards in public places such as the Forum of Rome. They also were called simply acta. In many ways, they functioned like an early newspaper for the Roman citizenry. The acta were begun in 59 BC and continued until AD 222. A third example of print mass media would be magazines. Magazines often combine pictures and images, which makes them a multimodal text. It was the first national mass medium, reaching people all over the growing nation of the late 1700s and into the 1800s. Although the reach of magazines made them the first national medium, they were generally unsuccessful, and the content of the early magazines was not highly regarded. The picture called Afghan Girl is one of the most iconic in the world. The image of her face, with a red scarf draped loosely over her head and her eyes staring directly into the camera, was named the most recognized photograph in the history of the magazine National Geographic, and this June 1985 cover is one of National Geographic's best known. An example of visual mass media is television. Television was the first mass medium capable of instantly and wirelessly transmitting audio and visual signals. The earliest televisions did not have sound and used only the visual, gestural and linguistic communication modes. The modern television now incorporates sound, which would represent the audio communication mode. The RCA 630TS was the first mass-produced electronic television set and sold in 1946 to 1947. The Internet and digital media has created a world full of rich multimodal texts. The Internet has enabled digital media which can read, write, and store data such as text, images, sound, and video using numerical code, which revolutionized media more quickly than ever before. Some examples of the rich media today would be: 1. Email containing videos and audio files, or 2. Rich websites with multiple communication modes. The first television set was made in the 1940s. In one generation, the world has gone from no television sets to fully immersive experiences using virtual reality and sensory feedback. Just imagine the type of digital media you will be consuming 20 years from now. In this review quiz, you will be asked to identify which communication mode would be most appropriate to a particular description. The communication modes could be linguistic, spatial, visual, audio and gestural. You may pause the video now before we show the answers. The answers are: 1. Proximity, direction, and position of layout. This would be the spatial communication mode. 2. Vocabulary, grammar, and structure. This would be the linguistic communication mode. 3. Volume, pitch, rhythm. This would be the audio communication mode. Hopkins Online Learning Topic 2. In this topic, we will discuss the evaluation process of multimodal text. Multimodal text analysis may involve an analysis of one or more communication modes. We can discuss two types of analysis here. We will discuss textual analysis, which has 4 steps. Step 1. Identify the creator of the text. Step 2. Interpret the message. Step 3. Identify the lifestyle, values, and point of views represented by the message. Step 4. Identify the goal of the text. We will then discuss image analysis. Step 1. Content analysis. Step 2. Visual analysis. Step 3. Image source. Step 4. Contextual information. Step 5. Technical quality. Analyzing 2 different forms of text would be considered a multimodal text analysis. The Rosetta Stone is a stele composed of granite iorite inscribed with 3 versions of a decree issued in Memphis, Egypt, in 196 BC. The Rosetta Stone contained a standard decree on government rules and regulations. However, the government decree was written in 3 different languages, including the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic script, which for hundreds of years people had forgotten how to understand. They used textual analysis on the languages that were still understood, and we were able to rediscover how to understand the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic script, which is written all over the Egyptian pyramids. What are the steps of a text evaluation process? Step 1. Identify the creator of the text. What did they hope to accomplish? What are their primary belief systems? Knowing the background of the author will give a better perspective of how the message was formed. Think of the message: how dare you? Who is Greta Thunberg talking to? What is she talking about? What is her background? Greta Tintin Eleonora Ernman Thunberg is a Swedish environmental activist. Thunberg's activism began when she persuaded her parents to adopt lifestyle choices that reduce their own carbon footprint. In August 2018, at age 15, she started spending her school days outside the Swedish parliament to call for stronger action on climate change by holding up a sign reading "School Strike for Climate." She then attended the 2019 UN Climate Action Summit. Her speech there, in which she exclaimed "How dare you?" was widely taken up by the press and incorporated into music. Step 2. Interpret the message. What is the message? What is the purpose of the message? Who is the target audience of the message? This is part of Greta's "How dare you" speech to the United Nations world leaders in 2019. It reads: "You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. And yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? The purpose of the message was to inspire leaders to talk less and do more for the environment. The target audience of the message were the world leaders in attendance of the United Nations Climate Summit. Step 3. Identify the lifestyle, values, and point of views represented by the message. What does this tell me about how other people live and believe? Does this message leave anything or anyone out? What other ways of presenting the message are there? When you look at the image and see the message, how dare you? Do you think the message is about a simple fight in high school? What do you think Greta believes when you see the image of her with a climate protest signage and saying the words "how dare you"? How do you think Greta lives her life? Does she believe that she is powerless as a high school student? We can identify that Greta values the environment, and her lifestyle is that of a proactive person who takes action rather than thinking she is powerless and weak. Step 4. Identify the goal of the text. Who sent it? Is it trying to tell me something? Is the purpose of the text to inform or persuade? What was Greta trying to say to world leaders? Was she there to inform them about climate change? Or was she there to persuade them to finally take action and whatever they are doing is not enough? We can perform image analysis to analyze a different type of text, namely pictures. Images should be evaluated on several levels. Visual analysis is an important step in evaluating an image and understanding its meaning. It is also important to consider textual information provided with the image source and original context of the image, and the technical quality of the image. One of Leonardo da Vinci's most famous paintings is The Last Supper. People have theorized that the placement of the bread loaves represents musical notes as seen in the bottom picture. The musical notes in the picture when played on an instrument are in perfect harmony and in true polymath style. Da Vinci was an expert musician, as well as a painter, sculptor and inventor. Step 1. Content analysis. What do you see? What is the image all about? How effective is the image as a visual message? You can see a man standing in front of a tank. What is this image all about? Why is it still being talked about 25 years later? Time magazine called this picture called Tank Man one of the 100 most influential images of all time. Tank Man, also known as the unknown protester or unknown rebel, is the nickname of an unidentified Chinese man who stood in front of a column of tanks leaving Tiananmen Square in Beijing on June 5, 1989, the day after the Chinese government's violent crackdown on the Tiananmen protests. In what is known as the Tiananmen Square massacre, troops armed with assault rifles and accompanied by tanks fired at the demonstrators and those trying to block the military's advance into Tiananmen Square. The protests started on 15 April and were forcibly suppressed on 4 June when the government declared martial law and sent the People's Liberation Army to occupy parts of central Beijing. Estimates of the death toll vary from several hundred to several thousand, with thousands more wounded. This image is so effective at conveying bravery and standing up for oppression that it is still being used in many magazines, articles over 20 years later. The Chinese Communist Party over 25 years later is censoring any use of this image in China. Step 2. Visual analysis. What is in the background and in the foreground? What are the most important visuals? What is the image composition? The largest visual that you can see which occupies the most space in the picture are the 4 menacing tanks. The image composition largely centers on the 4 tanks which occupy the bulk majority of the picture. What is the most important visual though? The most important visual is the young man who is standing in front of all the tanks risking his life for something he believes in. Step 3. Image source. Where is the image from? Is the source trustworthy and reliable? What information does the source provide about the image origins? The image is from Jeff Widener of the Associated Press. The Associated Press is a non-profit news organization in New York that is over 150 years old. Jeff Widener is an American photographer. Through the years, he has covered assignments in over 100 countries involving civil unrest and wars to social issues. He was the first photojournalist to file digital images from the South Pole. Step 4. Contextual information. What information accompanies the image? Does the text change how you see the image? Although this image does not contain any text, this presentation has shared some information about the image. How did that information on the Tiananmen Square protests change how you see this image? How did knowing that this image was included as one of most influential photographs of human history change how you perceive this image? Step 5. Technical quality. Is the image large enough to suit the purpose? Is the image in a usable file format? Is the image a quality digital image without distortion? Is the image a high-resolution image? What could it be used for? Well, it is quite an old image, so it is quite unclear and not in high definition. It could potentially be used in some formats such as a magazine cover, or an image for a news article. However, it is not clear enough to be used in, say, a billboard, which requires very high resolution images as a billboard is so large. In this review quiz, you will be asked to identify which visual analysis step would be most appropriate to a particular description. The communication modes could be content analysis, visual analysis, image source, contextual information, and technical details. You may pause the video now before we show the answers. The answers are: 1. Where an image is from. This would be image source. 2. What is in the background and foreground of the image. This would be visual analysis. 3. Understanding language, meaning, and symbols present in text. This would be contextual information. Hopkins Online Learning Topic 3. In this topic, we will discuss critically evaluating multimodal texts. Before critically evaluating multimodal texts, these points should be considered. Does the rhetorical situation call for a certain mode? Or, do you have some creative freedom in how you present your ideas or make your argument? How does a certain mode affect the way your audience will receive or experience the message? What are the advantages and disadvantages of using a certain mode for this particular writing task? Could you use a combination of modes? Would a multimodal approach enhance your message or help you to better get your points across? Do you possess the technological skills necessary to effectively use a specific mode? Will you need to learn additional skills in order to create your work? If so, how can you best learn these skills in the given time frame? Here is a checklist to evaluate multimodal texts. 1. Category of multimodal text. 2. Communication modes used. 3. Form of multimodal text. 4. Creator. 5. Message conveyed. 6. Lifestyle, values, and points of view represented. 7. Purpose and goal of the message. We will be evaluating some examples of multimodal texts. Before we analyze the texts, here is a quick review on the different communication modes. The communication modes can be: 1. Linguistic, vocabulary, structure, and grammar. 2. Visual, color, vectors, and viewpoints. 3. Audio, volume, pitch, and rhythm. 4. Gestural, movement, speed, body language, and facial expression. 5. Spatial, proximity, layout, and organization. A text can be defined as multimodal when it combines two or more communication modes. Let's practice with a podcast. You can click the link in the slides. Alternatively, you can search the title "The Innovations We Need to Avoid a Climate Disaster" in Google to find this podcast. The description of this podcast is as follows. The single most important thing for avoiding a climate disaster is cutting carbon pollution from the current 51 billion tons per year to zero, says philanthropist and technologist Bill Gates. Introducing the concept of the green premium, the higher price of zero-emission products like electric cars, artificial meat, or sustainable aviation fuel, Gates identifies the breakthroughs and investments we need to reduce the cost of clean tech, decarbonize the economy, and create a pathway to a clean and prosperous future for all. We will be using this simple checklist to analyze the different multimodal texts. 1. Category of multimodal text. 2. Communication modes used. 3. Form of multimodal text. 4. Creator. 5. Message conveyed. 6. Lifestyle, values, and points of view. 7. Purpose of the message. Let's analyze the podcast using the checklist we created. 1. Category of multimodal text. This multimodal text is under the digital category, as it can be accessed through the internet. 2. Communication modes used. Was the podcast a multimodal text? Well, it had words, which means it used the linguistic mode. It also had different volumes and pitches, which is the audio mode of communication. So yes, it is definitely a multimodal text as it uses two or more communication modes. 3. Form of multimodal text. The form of the multimodal text is sound mass media. 4. Creator. The creator of the multimodal text is the TED Talks organization and Bill Gates. 5. Message conveyed. The author was trying to convey that the single most important thing for avoiding a climate disaster is cutting carbon pollution from the current 51 billion tons per year to zero. 6. Lifestyle, values, and points of view. The points of view could be technocratic, scientific, innovative, economic, or futuristic. 7. Purpose of the message. The purpose of the message was to introduce the concept of green premium and inform the audience about the necessary steps to address climate change. Let's practice with a magazine cover. You can click the link in the slides. Alternatively, you can search for Entrepreneur Magazine, March 2021. Since this is a magazine cover with both text and images, we should do both textual and visual analysis. Here is a review of both types of analysis. Here is a review of textual analysis. Step 1. Identify the creator of the text. Step 2. Interpret the message. Step 3. Identify the lifestyle, values, and point of views represented by the message. Step 4. Identify the goal of the text. Here is a review of image analysis. Step 1. Content analysis. Step 2. Visual analysis. Step 3. Image source. Step 4. Contextual information. Step 5. Technical quality. Let's do a visual analysis on the magazine cover. Step 1. Content analysis. The image focuses on Ryan Reynolds in a close-up shot. Step 2. Visual analysis. The foreground is clearly focused on Ryan Reynolds with the background being blurred out. Step 3. Image source. The image is from a reliable media company. Step 4. Contextual information. The words viral and marketing may change how people see the image. Without the words entrepreneur, viral, and marketing, we might think of this image as coming from the fashion context. Step 5. Technical quality. The image you see in this video may be pixelated and may not be usable in the printed magazine as there might be some pixelation. Let's analyze the magazine cover using the checklist we created. 1. Category of multimodal text. This multimodal text could fall under both the paper and digital categories. 2. Communication modes used. The magazine cover uses the visual communication mode with elements such as colors and vectors. There are also text elements in the magazine cover which would be the linguistic communication mode. 3. Form of multimodal text. The form of the multimodal text is primarily the magazine form, which is a type of print mass media. 4. Creator. The creator of the multimodal text is Entrepreneur Media Incorporated. 5. Message conveyed. The Secrets of a Viral Marketing Strategy by Ryan Reynolds. 6. Lifestyle, values and points of view. The points of view could be entrepreneurial, networking, marketing, or strategic. 7. Purpose of the message. The purpose of the message was to give business advice and help aspiring entrepreneurs on their marketing strategies and overall business journey. Let's practice with a final example using a Facebook post. You can click the link in the slides if you would like to read the comments or get a better quality image. We can use textual analysis to analyze the linguistic components of the text. Here is a quick review of some steps you could take to do textual analysis. Step 1. Identify the creator of the text. Step 2. Interpret the message. Step 3. Identify the lifestyle, values, and point of views represented by the message. Step 4. Identify the goal of the text. We can practice utilizing these textual analysis steps on the Facebook post. Step 1. Identify the creator of the text. The creator would be the World Health Organization. Step 2. Interpret the message. The purpose of the message would be to promote a healthy heart and controlling blood pressure through healthy practices. Step 3. Identify the lifestyle, values, and point of views represented by the message. This message represents living a healthy lifestyle, and there could be other ways of presenting or reinforcing this same message. Step 4. Identify the goal of the text. The goal of the text would be informational and to inform people that there are practices they could do to promote a healthy heart. Let's analyze the Facebook post using the checklist we created. 1. Category of multimodal text. This multimodal text would be under the digital category. 2. Communication modes used. The magazine cover uses the visual communication mode with elements such as colors and vectors. There are also text elements in the Facebook post which would be the linguistic communication mode. The way the image centers around the heart would also represent the spatial communication mode. 3. Form of multimodal text. The form of the multimodal text is primarily the internet and digital media form. 4. Creator. The creator of the multimodal text is the World Health Organization. 5. Message conveyed. It is possible to have a healthy heart and control blood pressure by following some simple practices. 6. Lifestyle, values and points of view. The points of view could be health, statistics, government, science, informative, and awareness. 7. Purpose of the message. The purpose of the message was to promote a healthy and active lifestyle. A text can be defined as multimodal when it combines two or more communication modes. There are different communication modes, but they can be broadly categorized into linguistic, spatial, visual, audio, and gestural. When doing critical analysis on multimodal text, it is possible to utilize different analysis methods such as textual analysis and visual analysis. We are surrounded by multimodal text on a daily basis, such as magazine covers, social media posts, podcasts, and more.